first contact gone wrong, the Discovery captain, Elena Vasquez, stood on the bridge of the UES horizon, watching the strange purple glow emanating from the asteroid ahead. Her ship was deep in uncharted space, 3 months away from the nearest human colony. The crew of 43 had been exploring this sector for 2 years, mapping star systems and looking for habitable worlds. Nothing had prepared them for what they found floating in the void between 2 dead planets. The object was massive, easily the size of a city block, but it wasn't natural. Smooth surfaces covered in geometric patterns suggested intelligent design. More importantly, it was giving off energy readings unlike anything in human databases. Dr. James Park, the ship's xenorchaeologist, had been studying the scans for 6 hours straight without taking a break. Elena walked over to his station. The young scientist looked exhausted but excited. His dark eyes were bright with curiosity as he pointed to the readings on his screen. Dr. Park had joined the mission fresh out of university, eager to make discoveries that would change humanity's understanding of the universe. He had gotten his wish, though not in the way he had hoped. "Captain, this thing is ancient," he said, barely able to contain his enthusiasm. "My analysis suggests it's been here for at least 50,000 years, maybe longer. But here's the incredible part. It's still active. The energy signatures are unlike anything we've ever encountered." Elena studied the data. The artifact was beautiful in its alien geometry, covered with symbols that seemed to shift and change when viewed directly. It pulsed with that strange, purple light in regular intervals, like a heartbeat. Something about it made her uneasy, but scientific curiosity was stronger than caution. "Any idea what it does?" she asked. Dr. Park shook his head. "Not yet, but I think it might be some kind of beacon or communication device. The energy patterns suggest it's trying to transmit something, but I can't decode the signal." Elena made her decision: send out the probes. Full spectrum analysis. "I want to know everything about this thing before we get too close." The activation 3 hours later, the probes had mapped every inch of the artifact's surface. The symbols were definitely a form of writing, though completely unlike any human language. More concerning were the weapon scars on the artifact's surface. Something had attacked this object with energy weapons powerful enough to melt metal, but it had survived. Lieutenant Commander Sarah Chen, Elena's second-in-command, approached with a troubled expression. Sarah had served with Elena for 8 years and had never seen her captain back down from anything. She was hoping this wouldn't be the first time. "Captain, I've been analyzing the damage patterns," Sarah said quietly. "Whatever hit this thing had weapons technology far beyond anything we have. The energy output required for this kind of destruction would be enough to glass an entire planet." Elena felt a chill run down her spine. "Are you suggesting we leave?" "I'm suggesting we be very careful about poking ancient alien technology with sticks." Before Elena could respond, Dr. Park's excited voice filled the bridge. "Captain, the artifact is responding to our probes. The energy output just increased by 300%. On the main screen, the artifact's purple glow intensified. The symbols on its surface began moving faster, creating hypnotic patterns that seemed to pull at the viewer's attention. Then, without warning, a beam of energy shot out from the artifact directly at their ship. "Shields up, evasive maneuvers," Elena ordered, but the beam wasn't an attack. It passed harmlessly through their shields and hull, scanning the ship from bow to stern in seconds. Elena felt a strange tingling sensation, as if something was examining her at the molecular level. The beam lingered for a moment, then shut off. The artifact went dark. Damage report, Alina called out. No damage, Captain, reported Chief Engineer Miguel Santos from his station. But that beam analyzed everything about our ship. Hull composition, power systems, even our biological signatures. It knows exactly what we are now. Alina didn't like the sound of that. Dr. Park, any theories on what just happened? The scientist was frantically checking his instruments. I think we just answered a very old question, Captain. That artifact wasn't trying to communicate with anyone in particular. It was waiting for someone new to find it. And now it's calling them. As if responding to his words, space around the artifact began to ripple. Reality twisted and bent as something massive forced its way through the fabric of the universe itself. The horizon's sensors screamed warnings as energy readings went off the charts. Captain, Sarah said, her voice barely steady, something very big is coming through. The Krolix Empire, the first ship that emerged from the dimensional rift, was a nightmare made of black metal and sharp angles. It was 3 times the size of the horizon and covered with weapon ports that could reduce a planet to ash. But it wasn't alone. More ships followed, each one larger and more threatening than the last. Within minutes, 15 vessels had surrounded the human ship. Alina had seen many alien designs in the databases, but these ships were different. They were built by a species that valued fear and intimidation above all else. Every surface was designed to look threatening, every angle calculated to inspire terror. Whoever built these ships wanted their enemies to know death was coming. Captain, we're being hailed, Sarah reported, though her voice was tight with fear. Put them through. The main screen filled with the image of something that haunted nightmares. The creature was 8 feet tall, covered in natural armor that looked like black scales. Its head was elongated, with 4 eyes that glowed red in the darkness. When it opened its mouth to speak, Alina could see rows of razor-sharp teeth designed for tearing flesh. Primitive species, the creature said in perfect English, though its voice was like grinding metal. I am War Commander Thaxon of the Krolix Empire. Your probe has awakened one of our ancient beacons. This sector now belongs to us. Alina stepped forward, trying to project confidence she didn't feel. I'm Captain Alina Vasquez of the United Earth ship Horizon. We're explorers from the human species. We discovered this artifact by accident and meant no harm. Thaxon's 4 eyes focused on her with predatory intensity. Humans, we have never encountered your species, but the beacon has analyzed you completely. You are weak, soft, your ships are primitive, your weapons pathetic. You will make adequate slaves. Elena's jaw tightened. We're not interested in being anyone's slaves. The alien made a sound that might have been laughter. Your interests are irrelevant. The Krolix Empire has conquered 400 species across 60 galaxies. We are the apex predators of the universe. Resistance is futile and will only increase your suffering. Alina looked around her bridge at her crew. They were scared, but none of them were backing down. Dr. Park was still at his station, frantically recording everything. Sarah had her hand near the weapons controls, ready to fight even though they had no chance of winning. Chief Santos was already plotting escape routes. Asterisk. How many ships do you have in this sector? Alina asked, buying time. Currently 15, but my empire spans 10,000 worlds. We can call upon fleets that darken entire star systems. Thaxon leaned forward. However, for a species as primitive as yours, 15 ships will be more than sufficient to conquer your home world. Alina felt her blood run cold. You don't know where Earth is. We do now. Thaxon gestured, and the screen showed a star map with a clear path from their current location back to human space. Your ship's navigation systems were quite informative. We know the location of every human colony, every military installation, every place your species calls home. The alien commander stood to his full, intimidating height. Here is what will happen. You will return to your world and tell your leaders that the Krolix Empire claims all human space. You have 1 standard galactic year to prepare for our arrival. Spend that time wisely. Organize your surrender. Catalog your resources. Prepare your population for servitude. Any resistance will result in the complete extinction of your species. Alina stepped closer to the screen, her fear transforming into anger. And what if we refuse your generous offer? Then you will join the ranks of the 57 species we have completely exterminated. Thaxon's voice was matter-of-fact, as if he was discussing the weather. Make no mistake, human. This is not a negotiation. This is a notification. We are giving you the chance to survive as slaves because you discovered our beacon. Most species don't receive such mercy. Alina looked at her crew one more time. They were all looking at her, waiting for her decision. She thought about Earth, about the billions of humans who had no idea what was coming. She thought about her daughter back home, just starting college. She thought about humanity's dreams of exploring the stars and finding their place in the universe. War, Commander. Thaxon, she said clearly, I have a message for you and your empire. The alien leaned forward, interested. Speak. Alina stood straight, shoulders back, every inch the starship captain. Go to hell. The escape, the reaction was immediate. Every Krolix ship powered up their weapons simultaneously, turning space around the horizon into a web of targeting lasers. Thaxon's face twisted into something even more horrifying than before. You dare insult the Krolix Empire, he roared. I will personally flay the skin from your bones. Sarah, all power to engines. Miguel, emergency jump, any direction. Alina shouted. The horizon lurched forward just as the Krolix ships opened fire. Energy beams that could melt asteroids filled the space where they had been moments before. Chief Santos had the jump drive spooled up and ready, and the ship vanished into hyperspace just as a massive explosion consumed the area. They had escaped, but barely. The ship's hull was scorched from near misses, and several systems were damaged. More importantly, Alina knew they had made enemies of the most dangerous species in the galaxy. Did we get everything recorded? She asked Dr. Park. The scientist nodded, his face pale but determined. Every word, every image, every energy signature. Earth Command will have complete data on their ships and weapons. Alina activated the ship's long-range communication system. The message would take months to reach Earth, but it would give humanity time to prepare. She began recording, choosing her words carefully. Earth Command, this is Captain Alina Vasquez of the UES Horizon, transmitting on emergency frequencies. We have made first contact with a hostile alien species calling themselves the Krolix Empire. They are extremely advanced, extremely dangerous, and extremely hostile. They know our location and are planning an invasion within 1 galactic year. She paused, thinking about how to convey the magnitude of the threat they faced. I want to be clear about something. These aren't like the peaceful species we've imagined. They are predators who have conquered hundreds of worlds and exterminated dozens of species. They see us as primitive slaves, nothing more. But they made one mistake. They underestimated human determination. Alina looked directly into the camera, her voice growing stronger. We refused to surrender, and we escaped with vital intelligence about their capabilities. Use this information. Prepare our defenses. Warn our colonies. Because when they come, they're going to learn that humanity doesn't bow to anyone. As the message transmitted across the void toward Earth, Alina stared out at the stars. Somewhere, out there, War Commander Thaxon was probably planning humanity's destruction. The Krolix Empire had never faced a species like humanity before. They were about to discover that being the galaxy's apex predator meant nothing when facing a species that refused to accept defeat. The war for humanity's survival was about to begin, and Alina had just fired the first shot by refusing to surrender. She just hoped it would be enough to give Earth the time it needed to prepare for the storm that was coming. The Horizon continued its journey home, carrying the most important message in human history. Behind them, the ancient artifact continued to pulse with purple light, a beacon calling other predators to feed on what they thought would be easy prey. They were about to learn how wrong they were. The war that changed everything, preparing for the storm. Admiral Marcus Chen stood in the command center of Lunar Station, looking at the largest military build-up in human history. 6 months had passed since Captain Vasquez's message reached Earth, and humanity had not wasted a single day. The Admiral was a veteran of the Outer Colony Wars, but nothing in his 40 years of service had prepared him for this. Every shipyard in human space was working around the clock. Civilian vessels were being converted into warships. Mining stations had become weapon manufacturing centers. The entire human species had united with a single purpose: survival. Marcus had never seen anything like it. Political differences that had divided humanity for centuries were set aside. Every resource, every brilliant mind, every ounce of human determination was focused on the coming war. Dr. Sarah Kim, Earth's leading xenobiologist, approached with the latest intelligence reports. She had been studying the recordings from the Horizon for months, analyzing every detail about Krolix technology and biology. Her findings were both terrifying and encouraging. "Admiral, we've completed our analysis of the Krolix weapon systems," she said, her voice tired but determined. "The good news is that their technology isn't magic. It follows the same physical laws we do, just applied more efficiently." Marcus nodded. "And the bad news? They're about 300 years ahead of us technologically. Their energy weapons are more powerful, their ships are faster, and their armor is nearly impenetrable by our current weapons." Dr. Kim pulled up a holographic display showing Krolix ship designs. "But we found something interesting. All there. Technology is optimized for overwhelming enemy forces quickly. They've never had to fight a long war. This was crucial intelligence. Every species the Krolix had conquered had surrendered after the first demonstration of their power. They were used to enemies who gave up when faced with superior force. They had never encountered a species that would fight to the death." "What about their biology?" Marcus asked. Dr. Kim's expression grew more optimistic. "They're apex predators from a high-gravity world. Individually, they're stronger and faster than humans, but they're also used to being at the top of the food chain. They've never had to adapt, never had to think creatively under pressure. Humans, on the other hand, evolved as persistence hunters. We don't give up." Marcus studied the tactical displays, showing human forces spread across 50 star systems. They had 2,847 ships ready for combat, but intelligence suggested the Krolix would bring at least twice that number. The odds were against them, but humans had faced impossible odds before. Admiral, called Captain David Park, Dr. James Parks, older brother who had been promoted to lead the new stealth squadron. Long-range sensors are detecting massive hyperspace distortions at the edge of the system. They're here. Marcus felt the familiar calm that came before battle. He had been waiting for this moment for 6 months. All stations, this is Admiral Chen. The Krolix invasion fleet has arrived. All ships to battle positions. This is what we've been preparing for. The invasion begins. War Commander Thaxon stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Devourer, watching the primitive human defenses. His fleet consisted of 6,000 ships, enough firepower to sterilize every world in this pathetic system. He had brought such overwhelming force because the human captain's defiance still angered him. No inferior species should ever dare to insult the Krolix Empire. The human fleet was arranged in a defensive formation around their homeworld. Thaxon counted their ships with amusement. Less than 3,000 vessels, most of them converted civilian craft. It would be a massacre, just as he preferred. War Commander, reported his tactical officer, the humans are hailing us. Put them through. I want to see the fear in their eyes before we destroy them. The screen filled with the image of an older human male wearing military insignia. Unlike the female captain from months ago, this one showed no fear. His dark eyes were calm and determined. I am Admiral Marcus Chen of the United Earth Defense Fleet, the human said. You're trespassing in human space. Leave now, and we'll consider not hunting you across the galaxy. Thaxon was stunned. This primitive species was threatening him. Admiral Chen, I am War Commander Thaxon of the Krolix Empire. I have brought 6,000 ships to destroy your pathetic civilization. Your captain's insult will be repaid with the blood of your entire species. Admiral Chen's expression didn't change. War Commander, you made a mistake when you threatened humanity. We've had 6 months to prepare for you. We know your capabilities, your tactics, your weaknesses. You know nothing about us except what you learned from one exploration ship. Weaknesses. Thaxon's voice rose in anger. The Krolix Empire has no weaknesses. We are the apex predators of the galaxy. Every predator becomes prey eventually. Chen replied calmly. You're about to learn that lesson the hard way. The human cut the communication. Thaxon stared at the blank screen in rage. These insects dared to threaten the Krolix Empire. He would make their extinction slow and painful. All ships begin the attack. I want their world burning within the hour. The art of human warfare. The first wave of Krolix ships moved forward in their traditional formation. A massive wall of firepower designed to overwhelm enemy defenses through sheer force. It was a tactic that had worked against every species they had ever encountered. It was about to fail for the first time in Krolix history. As the alien ships approached, the human fleet seemed to retreat in panic. The Krolix forces pursued eagerly, eager to begin the slaughter. They flew directly into the most elaborate trap in military history. The humans had spent 6 months turning their entire star system into a weapon. Asteroids had been hollowed out and filled with explosives. Inactive satellites suddenly revealed themselves as missile platforms. The space around Earth wasn't just defended, it was booby-trapped. Captain David Park commanded the stealth squadron from his ship, the Shadow. His vessels were invisible to Krolix sensors, hidden among the asteroid belt. As the enemy fleet passed their position, he gave the order that began humanity's counterattack. All stealth ships, fire at will. Target their command vessels first. 50 stealth ships opened fire simultaneously from point-blank range. Their quantum torpedoes, reverse-engineered from Krolek's technology, punched through alien shields and HULs. A dozen Krolek's command ships exploded before they even knew they were under attack. Thaxon felt his flagship shake from multiple impacts. Warning alarms filled the bridge as his tactical officer reported massive damage throughout the fleet. War Commander, we're under attack from ships we can't see. They're using our own weapon technology against us. The War Commander couldn't believe what he was hearing. Impossible. No primitive species could reverse engineer Krolek's technology. In such a short time, sir, we've lost 47 ships in the first minute of combat. The humans have somehow made themselves invisible to our sensors. Thaxon's 4 eyes blazed with fury. He had brought overwhelming force to crush these insects, and they were somehow fighting back effectively. It was humiliating. It was unprecedented. It was impossible, but it was happening. The human way of war. Admiral Chen watched the battle unfold from Luna Station's command center. The first phase of the plan was working perfectly. The Kroleks were used to enemies who fought like them, standing formations trading firepower until the weaker side surrendered. They weren't prepared for human tactics. Phase 2, execute, he ordered. Across the battlefield, human ships that had been retreating suddenly reversed course. But instead of engaging in traditional ship-to-ship combat, they did something the Kroleks had never seen before. They worked. Together, groups of 5 human ships would surround a single Krolek's vessel, attacking from all directions simultaneously. When the alien ship turned to engage one attacker, the others would strike its undefended sides. It was pack hunting applied to space warfare, and the Kroleks had no defense against it. Dr. Sarah Kim monitored the battle from the science station. Admiral, the psychological profiles were correct. The Kroleks are getting frustrated. They're breaking formation and attacking individually. This was exactly what the humans had hoped for. The Kroleks were apex predators, used to hunting alone. When their coordinated tactics failed, they reverted to individual combat. That played right into humanity's hands. Captain Alina Vasquez, who had returned from her exploration mission just in time for the battle, commanded a squadron of modified destroyers. Her ship, the Defiance, led a daring attack on one of the largest Krolek's dreadnoughts. All ships, concentrate fire on their engine section, she ordered. We don't need to destroy them, just disable them. The human attack was perfectly coordinated. While Elena's ships kept the dreadnought's weapons busy, boarding pods launched from hidden positions. The pods were filled with human marines equipped with power, armor, and weapons designed specifically for fighting Krolek's soldiers. What the marines found inside the alien ship surprised everyone. The Kroleks, for all their technological superiority, were terrible at close-quarters combat. They were used to winning fights through intimidation and superior firepower. When faced with humans who wouldn't be intimidated and fought with desperate courage, the aliens crumbled. Sergeant Maria Santos, sister of Chief Engineer Miguel Santos from the Horizon, led the boarding assault. Her team of 20 Marines fought their way through corridors designed for creatures much larger than humans. This actually worked in their favor. They could move through spaces the Kroleks couldn't reach, and their smaller size made them harder targets. Command, this is Santos, she reported over the radio. These aliens are big and strong, but they're not better fighters than humans. They're used to their enemies running away. We're taking the ship. Similar scenes played out across the battlefield. Human boarding parties captured ship after ship, turning the Kralix's own vessels against them. The aliens had never encountered an enemy that would board their ships and fight hand to hand. It was outside their experience, and they had no counter-tactics. The tide turns. War Commander Thaxon watched his fleet disintegrate around him. In 4 hours of combat, he had lost over 2,000 ships. The humans had lost less than 800. This was impossible. His species had conquered the galaxy by being superior in every way. How were these primitive creatures defeating them? War Commander, his tactical officer, reported, fear evident in his voice. The humans are using tactics we've never encountered. They're coordinating their attacks in ways that seem impossible. They're boarding our ships and defeating our warriors in personal combat. They're using our own technology against us. Thaxon stared at the tactical display showing human ships, swarming through his fleet like angry insects. Each individual human ship was weaker than its Krolix equivalent, but they fought together with a coordination his species had never achieved. They adapted their tactics in real time, learning from each engagement and becoming more effective. More disturbing was how the humans fought when boarded. Krolix warriors were used to enemies who surrendered when faced with superior individual strength, but these humans fought with a desperate courage that bordered on insanity. They would sacrifice themselves to take down a single Krolix soldier. They fought for something beyond their own survival. Sir, Admiral Chen is hailing us again. Thaxon accepted the communication, his rage barely contained. The human admiral appeared on screen, looking tired but determined. War Commander Thaxon, Chen said, you've lost 1/3 of your fleet. Your remaining ships are scattered and demoralized. I'm offering you one chance to withdraw with honor. Withdraw? Thaxon could barely speak through his fury. The Krolix Empire does not retreat. We will fight until every human is dead. Admiral Chen's expression grew sad. I was hoping you'd be smarter than that. You see, Commander, you made a fundamental error. You assumed that because we were technologically inferior, we were inferior in every way. You never bothered to study what makes humans dangerous. What makes you dangerous? Thaxon spat. You are weak, soft creatures who die easily. What makes us dangerous, Chen replied, is that we never give up. Every species you've conquered gave up when faced with superior force. But humans have been fighting impossible odds for our entire evolutionary history. We're not stronger than you, but we're more stubborn. We don't know when to quit. The Admiral leaned forward. You want to know our secret? We fight for each other. Your species fights for dominance, for territory, for resources. We fight for our families, our friends, our future. That's why your soldiers lose in hand-to-hand combat. They're fighting for an empire. Our Marines are fighting for home. Thaxon cut the communication and turned to his remaining officers. Signal all ships. Full assault on the human homeworld. I don't care how many ships we lose. I want that planet reduced to ash. The final stand, the remaining 3,000 Krolix ships, formed up for a final assault on Earth itself. They would bypass the human fleet and strike directly at the enemy homeworld. It was a desperate tactic, but Thaxon was beyond caring about strategy. He wanted revenge for this humiliation. Admiral Chen watched the enemy formation change and knew what Thaxon was planning. All ships, intercept course. They're going for Earth directly. What followed was the largest space battle in human history. Over 5,000 ships fought in the space, between Earth and Luna, with the survival of humanity hanging in the balance. The Krolix fought with desperate fury, throwing away tactical doctrine in favor of brute force. The humans fought with the knowledge that their families and friends were depending on them. Captain David Park's stealth squadron hit the formation from behind, targeting their engines and weapons systems. Captain Elena Vasquez led a frontal assault that drew the enemy's attention away from Earth. Admiral Chen coordinated the defense from Lunar Station, moving human ships like pieces on a chessboard. The battle raged for 6 hours. Human ships were destroyed by the dozens, but they always managed to take Krolyk's vessels with them. For every human who died, they made sure to take at least one alien with them. It was an exchange rate that the Krolyks, with their smaller numbers, couldn't sustain. War Commander Thaxon found himself alone on his bridge as his crew abandoned their posts. His flagship was crippled, his fleet was destroyed, and his empire's reputation for invincibility was shattered. Through the view screen, he could see Earth, hanging in space, blue and beautiful and unconquered. Admiral Chen's voice came over the communication system one final time. "Commander Thaxon, your fleet is destroyed. Your surviving ships are retreating. Earth stands unconquered." Thaxon looked round his empty bridge. "How?" he whispered. "How did you defeat the Krolyk's empire?" "We didn't defeat your empire," Chen replied. "We defeated your assumption that might makes right. We showed the galaxy that there's something stronger than superior technology or individual strength. There's the power of a species that refuses to give up." As Thaxon's ship drifted, powerless in space, he understood what had happened. The Krolyk's empire had ruled through fear and intimidation. They had conquered hundreds of species by convincing them that resistance was futile. But humans had looked at impossible odds and decided to fight anyway. A new galaxy news of humanity's victory spread across the galaxy faster than light. Species that had been enslaved by the Krolyks for centuries heard that the invincible empire had been defeated by a primitive species from the galactic rim. Rebellions broke out on 100 worlds. The Krolyk's empire, built on the myth of their own invincibility, began to crumble. Admiral Chen stood in his command center, reading reports of alien worlds declaring independence from Krolyk's rule. Captain Vasquez had returned from the battlefield with news that the surviving Krolyk's ships were retreating toward their home territory, pursued by human forces and their new alien allies. Admiral Dr. Sarah Kim approached with the final casualty reports. "We lost 1,247 ships and 89,000 personnel. But sir, we won. Humanity is free." Marcus Chen looked out at Earth, still blue and green and alive in the darkness of space. The cost had been terrible, but they had proven something important. Being the strongest or the most advanced didn't guarantee victory. Sometimes, the species that refused to surrender would find a way to win. 6 months later, Ambassador Elena Vasquez stood before the newly formed Galactic Council, representing humanity's application for membership. Around her sat representatives from dozens of species, many of them recently freed from Krolyk's rule. The Andorian delegate spoke first. The human species defeated the most powerful military force in galactic history. They freed our worlds from centuries of oppression. We support their application for full membership. The Centauri representative nodded agreement. The humans showed us that freedom is possible. They fought when victory seemed impossible. The galaxy is safer with them. In it, Elena stood to address the council. Honored delegates, humanity doesn't seek membership because we're the strongest species in the galaxy. We seek it because we believe all species deserve the right to determine their own destiny. The Krolyks thought they could make us bow. Instead, we made them learn that the galaxy doesn't belong to the strongest, It belongs to those brave enough to stand up for what's right. The vote was unanimous. Humanity joined the galactic community not as conquerors, but as liberators. They had proven that sometimes the most dangerous species in the galaxy wasn't the one with the biggest weapons or the strongest warriors. Sometimes it was the one that simply refused to give up. War Commander Thaxon, now a prisoner on a human ship heading toward Krollic space, watched through his cell window as human vessels escorted convoys of freed slaves back to their homeworlds. He finally understood what had defeated his empire. It wasn't superior technology or better tactics. It was something his species had never possessed: the willingness to sacrifice everything for others. The Krollics had been the galaxy's apex predators for thousands of years, but they had learned the hard way that humanity doesn't bow to anyone, and that sometimes the hunted can become the hunters. Asterisk.